Hi, welcome to another episode of Meet the Author. Tonight we have June Hyjek and her book, Unexpected Grace. Discover the secret to managing your chronic pain and stress. A journey to find physical, emotional, and spiritual healing, Unexpected Grace will inspire you to discover the courage to handle life-changing challenges with ease and grace. May this story lead you to deep healing in mind, body, and spirit. The bronze winner of the Global eBooks Awards. And it was endorsed by Bernie Siegel. Let's see what he had to say. If you want help becoming a strong at the broken places and finding sweet, sweet surrender and life without care, read and learn from June's experience and wisdom. Very nice. A discovery of healing through surrender. Tell me, June, about the title, Unexpected Grace, and what does it mean, a discovery of healing through surrender?
Well, the book itself takes the reader through my journey of my 5th, 6th, and 7th spinal surgeries. And afterwards, I was forced to really take a new look at my life, clean slate, start over. I couldn't go back to what I was doing. And during that time, my husband said to me at the very beginning of my year-long recovery, he said he thought it was going to be a year of transformation for me. Mm-hmm. And we all thought it was going to mean, bright, new, everything great and wonderful, new and improved and dramatic and exciting. And what happened was I really just came to a beautiful place of serenity and acceptance and comfort with who I was, what I was dealing with, and just living in that place. And it wasn't expected at all. And the only way to describe that feeling was the word grace.
Okay. And what is unexpected grace?
Well, the fact that we didn't expect that. I expected to have a totally different feeling. I expected to be new. I expected to be completely different. And what I felt was becoming more of who I already was. It was like coming back home as opposed to really going far. It was all about coming right back to who I was and being more comfortable in my own skin.
Almost like back to roots.
Back to roots, yes.
Now you said you had spinal surgery because you had scoliosis.
Correct.
Can you tell us about the disease scoliosis? Now, scoliosis is close to me because my mother, Edith Alster, she suffered from scoliosis, so I actually know about that.
Mm-hmm. Go on. Well, scoliosis is an often misunderstood condition, and actually the AMA does not allow us to say it's a disease. It's only categorized as a condition.
Correct.
And yet it impacts more than 12 million people in the U.S. alone, mostly men and mostly women and girls, but it is increasing in men as well. 500 people a day are newly diagnosed with scoliosis.
Wow. And
about 8,000 people a year are entered into the ranks of disabled, permanently disabled because of it. The costs are staggering. It's something about $3 billion in hospital costs alone, not including coverage for non-invasive procedures or doctors.
And what was interesting to me in your book is that, sure, you can be born with scoliosis, but you said your spine was actually turning, rotating on its axis, as a continuing issue throughout your life. Right. And that was a surprise to me. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, scoliosis has no known cause and no cure. So once you have it and you're born with it, there's a genetic predisposition, although it's not necessarily hereditary. So what happens is, because of the hormonal component to it, particularly in women, the condition can get worse at certain periods in your life. So it doesn't end at puberty, and it doesn't end if you have the surgery. It doesn't end if you get a brace. It's there forever. Mm-hmm. So it will come back, or it will show itself and change again during times in a woman's life when she is experiencing hormonal spikes, like pregnancy or perimenopause. Mm-hmm. So it's not uncommon at all for women who are pregnant and have scoliosis for that scoliosis to get at least 5% worse.
Now, you said, how many operations did you go through so far?
I've been through 7, and I hope that's it.
I hope so, too. Yes. And what did you mention they did in that operation, one of the things they did?
The first operation was a 3-level fusion that failed. Within a year afterwards, I had curved back up into the 60s. 60 degrees, so they did a second operation that fused 9 vertebrae, which is about a good hunk of my back. And that one failed as well because the titanium rods broke. And so I had to have them removed and then eventually put back in.
So you brought a picture. Let me show the audience. You can hold that up.
Sure.
I think it's upside down.
Yeah. That's it.
Show the audience.
So this is what I look like now. I like to say it's my beauty inside. These are titanium rods about the size of a pencil, and they go from for women, the bra strap all the way down to the tailbone. And I also have a section in my neck that has been fused. You can see a little bit up the top. That's a 3-level fusion as well. I have neck degeneration along with it.
Wow. Now, I was reading the book, and you talk about having a titanium rod in your back, but then you brought, for show and tell, an example, and this blew my mind. This is what's in your back. Do you want to show the audience?
Yes. This was put in my back in my second surgery, and you can see that it broke right here.
And it weighs about a pound.
Yes. I used to say that was that was my problem, that I weighed more because I had metal in me. And these clips right here were literally clipped to the spine, and you can see the size of these screws. These are literally screwed right into the vertebrae themselves. This particular model was experimental. These hooks were actually
like that.
Drilled out into my hip bones, and they believe that that's why that particular model failed. And
wow.
So now what's in me is very similar to this, except for it doesn't have the bottom prongs.
And so you have this in your body now,
Correct.
A little bit different version.
Correct.
And can you tell us about why you had to do 7 surgeries? First of all, you mentioned you had a 60% curvature, but you mentioned that 20% is normal. Okay,
Most
you didn't
people,
say that. You said it in the book. But.
Right. Most people have some sort of curvature, and that's one thing about scoliosis. What's different is it's not just the curvature of the spine. That's just its most prominent symptom, and because a lot of people have a curvature for various reasons. And there are even people who end up with a curvature from cerebral palsy or multiple sclerosis or from an injury. But when you have scoliosis, it really is a whole body condition, and they don't really know why the back curves, but it also impacts everything else in the body. It impacts the neurological system. It impacts the hormonal system.
So, just maybe a silly question, but if somebody gains weight and they have a big pot belly, and they say that can curve your spine, is that the same as scoliosis, or that's different curvature?
That's different. That would be considered a functional scoliosis, a functional curvature. But when you have scoliosis, the condition, it's considered idiopathic scoliosis, and which means that they don't know what's causing it. Whereas I've seen it too. When I've had a period in my life before this last round of surgeries, I was a personal trainer as well as a mind-body coach, and I would see people all the time that would come in because with a curvature because they were holding their 40-pound briefcase on the same shoulder for 10 years, or drove with their arm outside the window all the time. So people can get a postural scoliosis or a functional scoliosis, but that's not the same as having this condition, because this is really a degenerative condition. It just continues to break down.
So, why did you end up writing the book then? When did that happen?
Well, I began writing the night before.
You can hold the book there.
Sure. I began writing the book. I didn't know it was going to be a book. I wrote to my friends and family the night before what was supposed to be my 5th surgery. It was my revision surgery, going back in to put these rods in, and I just sent a message out saying, "This is what's happening. Send up a prayer, energetic hug, whatever is comfortable." And I got a lot of responses and saying, "We're here for you. We'll support you. I hope all is well. Please make sure that we hear what's going on." And I went into that surgery fully expecting it to be just like the others, with no problem, home from the hospital in 4 days, back to work in a month. And my attitude towards it was incredibly cavalier. So I had set up an email for my husband to send out to all these friends the next day that I already pre-wrote and said, June came through surgery with flying colors, she'll be home in 4 days, and we'll get back to you all, but it didn't happen. So he wrote to everybody, and everybody kept writing back, and then as soon as I was able to, after my 6th and 7th surgeries, I began writing to everybody. And I just called them update from June and just kept everybody informed. And it became a beautiful, beautiful conversation with my friends. The story starts out as really dealing a lot with the medical issues, the physical issues.
Would you be able to read one of the letters that you have that you got to your friends that you sent out?
An entire letter or just a...
Yeah, read one of the letters
Okay.
if you can find it quickly.
Sure.
I was impressed by the letters. It's sort of like a support group sort of thing.
It really was.
Almost like a Facebook thing. Now you can probably pop it out on Facebook. But
Yeah. Well, during it, a lot of people said to me that I should turn it into a blog. But what was different about this was I was writing to people that I felt completely safe with. I could say anything. It was
you
completely
didn't want to have
uncensored.
it public at that time.
I still felt I needed to be able to say whatever I wanted to say without thinking about, is this something I want to share with the world? I ended up sharing it with the world. But that took a lot of courage, and I could only do that because of the support they gave me.
Any letter.
Yeah. So. I'll do the one that's a year later. This is towards the end of the book, and every time I kept thinking I would stop writing, I would get something back from my friends that said, "Go ahead and keep writing. We haven't heard from you." So this one is it's titled "A Year Later," and I always started with "Hello, all." It's been a year now since the first of my last round of surgeries, March 12th. 1 year ago today, I was in a vastly different place. For one thing, I'm not on morphine and sleeping all day. The good old days. Back then, after those surgeries and the subsequent loss of my career while I was dealing with the staph infection, my husband said he thought it was going to be a year of transformation for me. I thought that was pretty intuitive since that hadn't even occurred to me yet. Blame it on the morphine. The brain wasn't really working then. He was right, of course, but I don't think I have the same idea of what that means now as I did a year ago. A transformation, reinventing myself, change, new and improved. That's what I thought would happen. I was excited. And yet I don't really feel much different today. Physically, I'm different, of course. I have good days and bad days, but that's better than having all bad days. I hurt, and sometimes I handle that pain better than other times. In fact, my husband said to me this morning, "It might just be possible you're not as young as you used to be, you know." Now, wasn't that sweet of him? But he's right. My body is a lot less forgiving, and I feel it. Emotionally, there are subtle differences. I think my relationships are better. I try to handle situations with more compassion and understanding. I've certainly learned a lot about myself, and I've learned how to surrender, find balance, relax, and stay open to possibilities. But I expected the year to bring me a new set of clothes, a new outward expression. Instead, what happened is I got stripped bare and started over from scratch. And it's taken the year for me to at least feel a little comfortable walking around naked. I realized this transformation wasn't to create a new me. It was to help me to be more of who I already am. And that's why it doesn't feel so different. I expected a metamorphosis, a major shift, a new skin, a new way of living that would integrate mind and body. What lofty goals. To do so, I thought I had to completely change who I was and how I deal with pain or handle physical or emotional discomfort, but it isn't like that. It's like coming back to where I've been all along. If you try to change yourself into something that's not you, it will never stick.
Very good. Very nice.
Thank you.
And so tell us about, now I know, I've met you at different events where you're sitting at tables and doing author signings. Tell me what happens at these events. What do people say who gets your book? Have you heard back from people who have read your book?
I do. I always make sure that I give my my card with my contact information, and I encourage them to tell me what they think and to be part of the discussion. Talking to the readers at these events is probably the best thing about being an author. It's always incredible conversations, and it makes me feel like sharing my story was worthwhile. I get comments like, you know, your book changed my life. You know, I feel...
That's what every author wants to hear.
Yes, yes. And people say that it gave them courage to just let go and to have faith and trust, because surrendering does require a huge amount of faith and trust. So I get a lot of really good comments, and people who pick up the book at the events usually, you know, are, I see myself in this.
Have you met people with scoliosis?
I have.
That have gotten the book?
In fact, one of the things that I do is I work with Dr. Hirsch, Daniel Hirsch. He's Scoliosis Correction Center in Hartford, and he has me meet with each of his patients, and he gives them the book, and we have a discussion about how they feel about having scoliosis and what their treatment is. And
so you're like a personal support group for the different patients?
Yeah, and then, and they always friend me on Facebook after, and I get to...
How many friends do you have on Facebook?
I don't know. Actually, I never counted them. So.
Oh, okay.
But so no,
do you have a special Facebook site for the book, or do you just have your own Facebook site?
I have my own Facebook site for myself, and the reason I did that is because the book is me.
Mm-hmm. So you didn't need two separate sites?
No, I didn't need two sites. Right.
Very interesting. And tell me a little bit about where being an author, where that has taken you.
It's taken me to tremendous places. I mean, one, I've had an opportunity to really learn about a completely different industry, and it is different from anything I've ever experienced. And
in what way?
Because most people think that your job is done when you write the book, and and that's the easy part. That's the part that I, as a writer,
the book is the message, and I have to get the message out.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then, you know, I had a conversation with a friend of mine one time, and I said, you know, I really want to be an author, not just a writer, an author.
Well, once you put out a book, you're not just a writer, you are an author.
You are, but I wanted to get my message out there. I wrote the book so that I could help other people and get the message out there, and that meant I wasn't going to be happy with just selling
what message was there? No, this book was a personal achievement, but what's the message you want other people to have?
That there's hope. The book provides comfort and hope for people, that I you know, because of the format, the way it's written, with using the emails and using my support group, I want them to feel connected and hopeful about their circumstances, and that they can see that if I could do this, then they can do it too.
So what other medical problems or circumstances in life did people who read the book were able to extrapolate from that besides scoliosis?
It applies to pretty much any circumstance that you have.
What is your readers like? Give an example.
Oh, some people have fibromyalgia. Some people have arthritis. Some people had
so
cancer.
Basically, pain issues.
But I have people who have chronic anxiety, anxiety disorders, stress. So because the concepts really apply to emotional distress as well, because you react the same way, whether it's physical or mental stress. It has the same impact on the body.
So now you went the route of people who suffered, and one of the ways they turned a negative into a positive was they became therapists. So tell us a little bit about your CD.
Well, I actually began.
Well, what is the CD?
The CD is a guided meditation CD. It has 3 meditations on it that are meant to use a gentle imagery of movement to help people feel freedom in their body, to help them release. So, and the CD came out of part of my practice with other people as a mind-body coach, and prior to these surgeries as a personal trainer and mind-body coach, I was working with people who had spinal issues.
But you said you had to sort of like give up personal training.
I had to give up the physical side of it, but I could keep the coaching side.
So this problem of scoliosis made you give up a couple careers throughout your life.
No, it's made me embrace new careers. It's given me new opportunities. I loved being a trainer, but there's a segment in the book that talks about that. I absolutely loved being a trainer, and I look back with fondness,
Well, you
but
didn't
no
love
regret.
being a personal coach?
I love being a personal coach too,
So.
but I love the combination of the mind and body, and that's why I brought in the personal training side of it as well. So the only difference now is I do talk to people about exercise and nutrition and movement, and make sure that that's part of their
Do you do the? I think you mentioned water therapy in there, or.
I did water therapy myself. So with my clients, I may work with them on the mind body side, but I also make sure that they've got something in their life that they're doing for the physical side. So I might be helping them deal with more of the emotional aspects of pain and stress, but I still make sure that they're dealing with the physical side.
And do you think you're going to have another book coming out?
I'm toying around with a couple of ideas. As you know, it takes a lot of time and effort to promote your book. So the book just was, this edition came out in August, so it hasn't been that long.
It's only been out in August?
Only been out since August. So.
How long did it take you to actually publish the book and go through the whole process and write it?
Well, a lot of the writing was done during the course of the experience, which is another reason why I think this book is different than other inspirational books, is because they tend to be written in hindsight, whereas this was through the actual experience. So it took a year to go through this experience and write the base, and then it probably took another 6 months to a year to pull it together, to find out how it will all come together. And then I put it aside, and it took me at least another 6 months before I had the courage to actually think about publishing it.
So what I like also, as you became an author and you have to market your own book nowadays, and you also wanted to get your message out, so you showed me today, you can show this to everybody. Well, it says the American Authors and Publishers Guild,
right,
promoting literary quality, industry, collaboration, and community awareness, quality books, programs, and events. And I love the logo of the feather with the different colors, the inkwell.
Yes,
we
launched this organization today, as a matter of fact, and I'm one of the founding officers. And we built this organization because we wanted to bring together authors and publishers and industry professionals who were dedicated to creating, developing, and producing and promoting high-quality books in the marketplace. I wanted to be able to go to a venue or a bookstore or a library and be able to bring them authors and guarantee them that every single author that I delivered to for an event or a signing or whatever it was a quality author. And we wanted to be able to raise the bar a little bit and put together this group that we will all work hard to promote our books and to maintain a high quality in the profession. So the group just started today. We launched today.
Today's
website's out. Yes, everything's
heard
up
it
yes.
first on
First on Meet the Author. Yes,
This is a first. It's not
right.
the first for Meet the Author, but it's another first.
It is another first, yes. Wonderful group. And
The first was our first show.
Yes, so.
That's very good. I'd like to hear you read another portion of the book that you prepared, page 210,
right.
if I remember well.
Yes. And this is one that's actually very important to me, too. It's just a segment of an entire entry that's called Pain is a Part of Life. And in it I say, trying to push it away, ignore it, or fight it will only make it scream louder. By embracing the pain as a part of life, part of living a complete and full life, it can no longer control our thoughts and emotions. In fact, detaching from the emotion of pain will always diminish it. Buddha says there is no joy without sorrow, no peace without suffering. At the same time, becoming the pain, identifying with it, or becoming a victim to it will only leave you constantly wallowing in it. Pain may be a part of life, but it doesn't have to become your life. I can embrace the pain, acknowledge and accept it, because I know there is joy on the other side. It's not trying to tell me something is wrong, it just is.
And one of the things I also find out in the book, you have pain every day. You still have pain with you?
Yes, I do.
I know my show relaxed you.
Yes, very much.
See, but
I always enjoy talking about my book, so yeah.
Tell me about that. What it is to be with pain every day, you know? Be honest about that. Pain is pain.
Some days it's difficult, but it really is an issue of not trying to let it define you or control your life.
Well, let me put it in a different way. Were you able to cut down on pain medications?
I haven't. I don't take any pain
You don't take any
medicines,
pain
no.
medications?
And
Well,
I
there you
haven't
go.
since I would say probably a week after I got home.
The first surgery or the last surgery?
Every surgery. I've
Oh,
never.
so you've taken it for a week? And
I
then
take it for the post-operative
period.
period of time, and that's it.
Amazing.
So, in fact, not that long ago, I fell.
Because these pain medications we know are very addictive.
Oh, they're horrible. They're horrible. Not that long ago, I fell on the stairs, and when I do something like that, doctors get concerned that I've broken this again. And so I went into the doctors, and they took x-rays, and my fusion and my rods were intact, but I'd broken a rib.
Wow.
And so my doctor gave me a pain medication. I took it one night, and I just couldn't take it anymore. I don't respond well to them, and so I prefer to use meditation. I use relaxation techniques, and
it works.
And it really is a mindset.
I mean, if it works for this, it can work for other things too.
It can work for. It's a mindset.
Well, June, this is at the end of our show, and we always sign over a book on Meet the Author. Okay. There you go. It's your turn. Very, very inspiring book and story. But if we don't have a pen, it's okay.
I don't have a pen.
We'll sign it over later.
Okay.
But thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Unexpected Grace.